The last page of our last review packet is talking about key features of linear functions. We have talked about these key features several times throughout the school year, and we have talked about these key features several times throughout our review. This last page is just meant to emphasize the importance of these key features and the likelihood that you are going to see them when you take your EOC. So the first key feature they want us to find is rate of change. We actually talked about the rate of change in this video, or this set of videos already. So the rate of change formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's supposed to be an x. I already messed up. So remember that on your formula sheet it's going to say slope, but slope and rate of change are the same thing. They're synonyms for one another. So all you're going to do is you have an interval of x values, so you need 2 coordinate points. Our first coordinate point is going to have x equals 0. Our second coordinate point is going to have x equals 3. When x equals 0, y equals 3. And when x equals 3, y equals 1. So now I'm going to use x1, y1, x2, y2 to calculate the rate of change. So 1 minus 3 over 3 minus 0. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. 3 minus 0 is 3. So the average rate of change is negative 2/3. And really, because this is a linear function, you could see that it goes down 2 over 3. Slope and average rate of change are the same thing. So really, if you wanted to count your rise over run, you could see that it's negative 2 over 3. Your x-intercept is where the graph would cross the x-axis. So this graph has an x-axis right here, and as you can see, it never crosses the x-axis. It stops right here. It has an endpoint opposed to this arrow. This arrow means it would keep going on forever, but this endpoint stops the function. It is not going to keep going, meaning that it does not have an x-intercept. It does have a y-intercept though. Here we have our y-axis. The y-intercept is going to be right here at 0, 3. Domain is very important. Domain is going to be your x values, and for domain and range, you use parentheses for an open circle, and you use brackets for a closed circle. So that's the difference between an open circle and a closed circle. You're going to have to use parentheses or brackets. So if I'm looking at the domain, domain is my x value, so I'm really focusing on this x-axis. I'm not paying attention to the y-axis at all. It doesn't mean anything to me. So I'm looking at my x-axis. This graph continues forever in the left-hand direction. Our left-hand direction takes us to negative infinity. So because I am going towards negative infinity, my domain is negative infinity, and it stops right here at 3. This endpoint tells me it's not going past 3 right here. So it's negative infinity to 3. I have a closed circle, so I'm going to use a bracket. You also use parentheses for arrows also. So this arrow, we used a parenthesis for that negative infinity. The range is very similar, but instead of focusing on the x-axis, you're solely focusing on the y-axis. Our range is going up forever, so that would be to positive infinity. It starts down here at 1. It never goes below 1. So my smallest y value is positive 1, and it's included, so I'm going to use a bracket. So positive 1, and it goes up forever to infinity. So again, this would be positive infinity y. This would be positive infinity x. This would be negative infinity x and negative infinity for y. You just have to look to see where your arrows are pointing, This goes forever in the negative x direction and in the positive y direction. Because this is so much of a review, I do want you to do this on your own. There are 15 boxes here for you to fill out. If you get more than 5 wrong, I'm going to hand it back to you and you're going to have to come to tutorial before you can hand it in, or fix the 5 that you get wrong in order to hand it in. So take your time, be diligent, get this last page done, and turn in your final review packet before the Georgia milestone.